table. This is nice. Wade Kellard.
Kevin Hackett.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good to have you.
Yeah. Been in town for Cincinnati for a week, trying to see everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. Good to see you. It's always
You
always
too.
a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Tell me about what have you been up to?
Damn. Been up to a lot of stuff lately. Trying to sort of get my financial health in order. Been doing a lot of investing, specifically in cryptocurrency. So spent a lot of time in that field.
Do you invest in anything outside of crypto, or is it just crypto?
Just crypto. There's some opportunities to invest outside of it. I haven't really explored those yet.
Mm-hmm.
A popular platform called Coinbase.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a direct public listing on April 14th.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. I might look into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But primarily, I spent a lot of time building cryptocurrency mining platforms.
Can you bring the mic a little closer to yourself?
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine. You can raise it up and stuff too if you want to a little bit. If you want to, just so it's like comfortable for you.
Sure.
But yeah, so you started a crypto mining business, like when was that? Like 3 years ago or something?
Yeah, end of 2016, I started to hear about Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine was kind of, expressing interest in running some of the machines necessary to what they call verified transaction. So it's basically just a space heater that runs 2 powerful fans. And got some graphic cards in there that will run an algorithm over and over. SHA 256 is what they call it. And essentially all it's doing is supporting the network, the Bitcoin mining network, to sort of kind of verify anytime people make a transaction and keep the network what they call decentralized. Got pretty heavily involved in that. Started doing 1 machine, and then we branched out into 4.
Were you doing this by yourself right off the bat, or were you partnered with someone?
I was partnered with somebody, a guy named Alec. We had been working out of an office for another venture, so we had this like free electric, and electricity is the biggest factor with mining. Like I said, it's basically a big space heater. I mean, they use a lot of power, so each unit was probably around, I think, about 1,300 watts, which is pretty intensive. I mean, if you have 4 of these running, that's probably at least the amount of power you could have to have 2 pretty good sized homes running all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we maxed out this room. It was a little small room that we had, and we maxed it out. We kept tripping the breakers, but we were making some decent profit. So from that point on, we decided to sort of expand the operation and rent a facility and start, buying all these machines.
How do you mind me asking how much you were making? Like when you say you started to make good profit?
We started to make at the start when we had probably 4 machines. This was like early 2017. They were starting to cost like maybe $800, $1,000 for one machine.
Mm-hmm.
But we would see an ROI on those in like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like maybe $300 or $400 a month per machine at the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm.
But then as it started to progress through 2017, the price kept going up. It eventually hit a peak around 20,000 at the end of 2017. And you were seeing like return on your investment in like a month.
Mm-hmm. You said you hit 20,000 as in like the amount that you've made total?
Yeah, it's based on the value of the coin at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you mine the same amount pretty consistently, the value of the amount of coins that you have in the wallet goes up or down over time.
Yeah.
It performs like a stock.
Mm-hmm.
With good days and bad days. But as sort of like the FOMO became real, and people started to kind of become more familiar about it, people kept buying it, and we saw the price go from like 10,000 to 20,000 in a matter of like a couple of weeks.
Was this Bitcoin?
With Bitcoin, yeah.
Okay.
So that was like my first area of focus in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a 200 amp panel maxed out with these miners. We had a room full of them. They were humming away, they were super loud, and you had to work on how to keep it running efficiently in terms of cooling and how to make sure that they were having 100% uptime. So even though you could have one, just plug it in and leave it,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you start to get a massive amount of these machines running at once, there's a lot of other things that kind of come into play. And so like I was at a point where I was just like I couldn't sleep. So I kept checking like my feed to make sure that all the machines go up and running. Because if one goes down, that's $100 that you lose overnight. And it was like really hyped.
How many machines did you have total at that point?
Well, at the height of the Bitcoin side of the business, we had probably around 60 or 70 of these machines running, like nonstop.
So
And
how much did that average make you? On average, how much did that make you like a day?
Jeez, man, it's been a while. I was more in charge of like the maintenance of them, keeping them up and running, which is actually what led to the downfall of the business.
So it was all your fault.
What? It's all my fault. It's all my fault because I didn't. There's a lesson I learned. Make sure you understand every single part of a business if you're gonna go into it. Because if you don't, you're just gonna get screwed.
Well, sometimes I think that's good advice, but also like sometimes for me, like when I got into screen printing, I didn't know shit about it. Like, and I just was like, I'm just gonna do this and like figure it out as I go. So I guess that's just a different school of thought. But like, I guess it also depends on what like the risk is. Like I didn't really have any risk. It was just like, I'll just learn as I go and eventually understand it. Now I understand it like really well, but
yeah, it's a learning process, of course. But when you're dealing with finances and got 2 owners or 4 owners really.
You were one of the owners, right?
Yeah, I was a part owner. I was more focused on getting a paycheck. Because at that time I was still learning about cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have like this 100% faith that it was gonna be like the next big thing, but I saw it as a paycheck. So my part of that business was I owned 5%, and there were 3 other people that owned varying degrees of percentages. So in the beginning we were doing good. We were only mining for ourselves, but things got screwed up when they started bringing other people into the business,
Mm-hmm.
and we started hosting people's machines. Now,
so do you think
we would take people's machines, we would plug them in, we would run them.
and you get like a percentage of their?
Yeah, we would take percent.
Do you think it was like a sort of a story of like wanting too much, like almost like greed kind of got the best of you? Because it sounds like things were kind of okay until you just kept wanting to grow and grow instead of just like, we've got a good thing going, like let's just grow more gradually and slowly. Exactly. or just keep it what we have instead of like always trying to reach for the next best thing, because that sounds like that's kind of what led to your downfall, I guess, as far as that business goes.
It's not like screen printing where you can give them something and then they go on their happy way. This is money you're talking about. This is people's money, their investment. If they're not getting what they expect, then they're gonna call you up. They're gonna be badgering you because at the end of the day, they're putting a lot of trust into you to keep these machines up and running.
Mm-hmm.
And when you grow so quick that the infrastructure is not there to match it, like we had issues in the middle of summer where I had designed this heat extraction system. We had a 20,000 CFM fan that was just sucking all the air out of the building to try to take all the heat.
Just to cool it down?
Yeah, all the heat that had been rising off of these machines and blowing it out. But the problem was that we had also had planned to install a cooling mechanism to keep the room cold.
It's kind of, it reminds me of like just a big computer. You know how you got the fans.
The server room, that's all it is.
Yeah.
We were trying to design it around that, but putting a fucking massive AC system into a building is not easy. You gotta get the parts, you gotta find the people to build it,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta design it, and we were growing so quick that we couldn't build the infrastructure quick enough to meet the demand.
Yeah.
And the other side of that was the business. That's why I said, make sure you understand the business completely at least have an understanding of what's going on, because I'm working to build everything. I'm doing my part. My partner's working to do the software. He's doing his part. But you got two people in different states who are taking customers in, but they don't have an understanding of what the facility looks like.
Like what your limitations are.
And what the limitations are.
Mm-hmm.
So to meet that, we got on board with these investors in Cleveland. They came on.
Where were you guys based out of at the time?
We were based out of Rochester, New York.
Okay.
We had cheap electric. We were right next to Kodak. Kodak was a big company back in the day, and then
Kodak, like film,
yeah,
like
it was
photography, film.
things like that.
Yeah.
So they built all this infrastructure back in the day, and then they downsized substantially.
Mm-hmm.
But they had their own power plant in this area. So electricity was, I think it was around 7-8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is actually a really good price. That was why we had proceeded to use that location rather than moving to somewhere a little bit more remote.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to meet the demand of the infrastructure that we needed and to expand the facility, we met with these investors in Cleveland. A bunch of guys that own like an ATM business, like they were kind of scary looking. They were like mobster looking dudes.
What were they wearing?
They were all like Italian, like in suits and
Fat,
we met
sort of heavy.
Oh yeah, a little heavy set.
Like, did they have accents?
Yeah, accents too. And there was like a couple of younger guys, you know, like trying to sell them on
Slicked back hair.
Slicked back hair.
That looking around their shoulder, over their shoulder and stuff.
Wasn't quite that extensive, but like we met in an Italian restaurant.
Nice.
And that was like something that was like, okay, shit. The dude pulled up in an Audi and an R8. And like, all right, they got me business. So,
You said that they had an ATM business?
yeah, they had ATM business, like a vending machine business. They owned like a bunch of like common stuff that we see every
Like
day.
a laundromat or something? Like a car wash, like that kind of stuff?
No, it's strictly ATMs and vending machines.
Oh, okay.
But they get that, you know, that money that they take out every time you make a transaction.
Yeah.
They get that.
Okay.
So this was like the northeastern state, and they own just like bazillion of these.
I always thought that was like a bank, like the bank that the ATM
No, it's like
is owned by the
subcontractors.
bank. Oh, really?
Subcontractors who provide these ATM machines, and then they pay a small percentage to the bank probably for the fees, but they get the majority of it. And maybe not so much nowadays, but you know, probably up until at least 2019, that was going up exponentially. Yeah. In terms of people taking out fees. I mean, fuck, if I go to an ATM that's not my bank, I'm probably paying at least $3. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that happens several times a day. Yeah, for sure. Just to Jake and all that money into. Yeah, yeah. And met with them, pitched the idea of, you know, hosting a large fund for them, and they threw down $800K. They gave you guys $800,000. Yeah. Well, it was more like staggered out. They would give us like pieces in different phases. When they gave you $800,000, was that them buying a part of the business, or was that just their cost to pay you to like set this up for them? So that was basically the total investment that they were going to put in. We were going to get 10% of the total profit, and we were going to get paid like a salary for, you know, maintaining the facility. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a good setup. So you were basically, they were starting their own business kind of, and you were like building it for them, and then you would get a percentage of their profits and then salary. We partnered with them. Yeah. We formed an LLC with them. Okay. So they were owners and you were also owners. Yeah. Was your business like what you were doing before you started working with them? Was that separate, or did that kind of come together? So that's the thing got kind of mucky. We didn't want to keep working with the other two guys. The guys that you were working with previously? Yeah. Because they were not in town, and we were already starting to get a little frustrated with them because they kept bringing people in. And you couldn't handle the demand? Yeah. That was one of the reasons why we went to the route to try to find investors. Like we're gonna take advantage of them. We're gonna upgrade the infrastructure, which is going to give us a little extra room to run our stuff.
Mhm.
And they were
How
like,
did you find them? Like, when you say you wanted to find investors, like, where did you start?
someone we knew from college.
Just post a Craigslist ad or something, like looking for 800,000.
I wish it was that easy. No, we were just talking to an old college buddy, and his family's like super rich, and he's actually his uncle.
The guy, the ATM guy,
Yeah,
the mobster
the
ATM guy.
mobster fella.
Yeah.
The last name ended in something like A,
Yeah.
so like I knew like shit. Like I
Oh
gotta
yeah,
get
like
it.
it had like an Italian
Yeah.
spin on it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went ahead. First thing we did was we bought all the parts. It was like beginning of 2018, end of 2017. So this was like the height of the craze. Like people were paying insane prices
For Bitcoin.
for the equipment.
Oh okay.
At that time, you could buy what they called an ant miner, an S9 ant miner.
Mm-hmm.
You could do about 9.5 terahashes per second, which would yield you like maybe 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 a month.
Yeah.
They were selling it for like $4,500. Like
Yeah.
it was just crazy markup for these.
What did it used to be?
I mean, the manufacturing retail price was about $800 early 2017.
How Bitcoin at this time you said was worth like 10,000?
I think early 2017 it was something like 4 or 5,000.
Oh really? Jesus. Yeah. I'm sure you know it's like $60,000 almost now.
Yeah.
Do you still mine like for yourself? Do you have like a little miner kind of thing at home?
So I kept a little bit after the business. You kind of held on to it.
Yeah.
And going back to the group of investors, we kind of realized that Bitcoin was going to be. Bitcoin was like, I don't know. Like, what was the first computer? Like an Apple? No, it wasn't Apple. It was something else. Like, it was a Macintosh.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like the first computer, right? That's like the granddaddy of it all. It's still successful, but there was, HP, Dell, Microsoft. They all kind of came along and took their part of the market.
Yeah.
So we always kind of knew that Bitcoin was already at 20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the runner-up was Ethereum. And I always liked Ethereum more because of what they are trying to do in terms of smart contracts, decentralized finance, proof of stake.
Isn't Bitcoin decentralized too though?
It is, but you can't really build things off of it because there's no Satoshi Nakamoto is the guy who they say originated it, but nobody knows who he really is. Somewhere out there's a wallet with 1 million Bitcoin that hasn't been touched since its inception. So they suspect that the owner of that wallet is the guy who created Bitcoin, but nobody come forward. I mean, there's some speculation. It was like Elon Musk or some other people, but nobody really knows for sure who it is. Well, that's a good thing, I think, because it lends to you can't really change the algorithm. You can't change the network.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna keep growing on its own, which was the beauty of the whole system.
And ultimately, it's all the Bitcoins will be unlocked, right, or something like that, and then
There's a finite supply.
yeah. So
21 million Bitcoin.
yeah.
The last one will not be mined because it's on a schedule.
Is that guy's wallet with 1 million Bitcoins in it? Is that already mined?
That was so I think it was around 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
The network was put on live.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you could mine a couple of Bitcoin a day with just like a regular computer,
Mm-hmm.
like a regular desktop computer.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a lot of research on it. You can see that there was a couple of nodes, what they call them a node,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a computer that's running the algorithm
Yeah.
to sort of verify transactions and things. There's a couple of things that it does, but basically keep the blockchain going.
Mm-hmm.
They could tell that there was maybe I think 20 or so nodes that were set up in the same IP address,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the start of it. And he just kept it going, and he kept it going for a couple of years after that. But it was so easy to mine at that time that he just amassed a large amount of coin.
So you're talking about the originator guy.
The originator.
So he already mined his stuff. He just keeps it in a wallet.
Yeah, well,
A digital wallet.
There's speculation that that's him.
Yeah.
But it could be someone else.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows.
Okay.
So the way it works is every 4 years, the block reward, which happens every 10 minutes, is halved. So
What is halved?
the block reward. So every 10 minutes, all the transactions are batched into the block.
Like a ledger.
On the ledger, right? Or on the blockchain.
Yeah.
The ledger is just the way to see.
The blockchain is like a ledger, though, right? Like it keeps track of all the different mining transactions and everything.
You can go to any block and
Yeah.
see a transfer from, if you knew it, a wallet.
So a block is a 10-minute slot of time, and within that 10-minute slot of time, in that block, you can see everything that's happened, whether it was something that was mined or bought or sold within 10 minutes.
Any transaction.
Any transaction. Does that that includes mining, right?
If you buy it, it's a transaction. If you sell it, it's a transaction.
But mining too, right?
Well, mining is just basically kind of taking all the transactions. I think mining is kind of a misleading term. Because when I hear mining, I think I'm like, I'm digging for gold.
Yeah.
But in blockchain term, it's really just sort of saying, this all happened. I'm saying this happened, and I'm going to take a reward for saying that this happened. That's what I mine. So there's a block reward that occurs. And that's how new coins are produced.
But it's all, every time, I know we've talked about this a number of times, I definitely have like
it took me a long time to wrap my head around.
I definitely have a deeper understanding of cryptocurrency, or at least like Bitcoin in particular, and a couple others too, but like more now than I used to. But even right now, like as you're explaining it, I'm still just like, it still like doesn't completely make sense to me.
Does not compute.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, like, as far as like, so when I don't want to split hairs about it anyway. I'm happy to just hear your story, but I'm just curious like about if you mine something, like does that pops up in the blockchain, right? Like say you mined a fraction of a Bitcoin, like would that be visible in the blockchain? Like it'll show.
Well, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can join a pool. There's several large pools of miners that just kind of join, and they pool together the power, and then based on the hash rate that you contribute to the network, the block reward kind of gets distributed evenly. Because I could set up my own machine and direct it right at the algorithm, and in the hope that I just happen to solve the block. Because the block is basically just a hexadecimal, which is like 26 letters, numbers, capitals, lowercase, uppercase, and then that's a key, okay? So that key is impossibly hard to guess. So when you have a pool of computers working to guess that,
and they're just constantly cycling through different
they're
combinations.
constantly guessing through these different hexadecimals, trying to find the one that contributes to that block.
Yeah, the key.
The key, yeah. So the way it's set up, it will be found every 10 minutes, and it's kind of just set in stone. So that's why there's a finite supply, and the last one will not be mined until somewhere around the year 2140.
You're saying that a Bitcoin gets mined every 10 minutes?
No, it halves every 4 years. So there's a schedule that kind of happens, but there's only 21 million that will ever be produced.
Yeah.
So, and based on the schedule from 2009 to, I think, 2140, I could be wrong, but that is basically the length of time that the creator set in order for all 21 million Bitcoin to be released.
Is that just an estimate, or is that like a time?
No, it is programmed.
Oh, so like, but like, wouldn't it be determined by like how many people are mining and trying to solve it? Like if less people were mining and trying to find the key, then wouldn't it take longer? Or vice versa, if there were like more people trying to do this, then wouldn't it happen sooner?
Well, that's something that I've yet to really fully wrap my head around. All I know is that the block is solved every 10 minutes, and it's kind of based on a random. I think the way the program is written is it'll pick a random machine or node and then assign it the hexadecimal character. But you have a better chance of solving it, being assigned that character, the hexadecimal, by having a larger amount of hash power.
This shit is so like,
Okay.
I honestly like I'm sure like the more I ask about it, I would hope that I would understand more. But
Let me just stop you here. So
Sure.
that's proof of work.
Yeah.
That is complicated, and you can't really change it for Bitcoin. But for Ethereum, they want to change that because if you think about it, people are just going to keep plugging electronic devices in and trying to get all the hash power, all the hashes. I want all the hashes because I want the reward.
The hash is the key.
Yeah, the hash, the amount. It's like shit, man. Like if I'm mining gold, right, and I own a company.
Yeah.
I've got 100,000 employees. They're all just standing with the pickaxe.
Yeah.
My company gonna find more gold than if I'm just going there by myself.
Yeah.
Standing with the pickaxe, right?
Yeah.
That's what the pool is. But so that's proof of work. That's basically, the machine do the work. The more you have, the more you make.
Yeah.
Proof of stake is what Ethereum is moving toward. That means that there's not going to be just this massive amount of electrical energy required to sort of power the proof of work mechanism. It's just going to be based on something called validation, which is you have to have the pool approach still applies, but basically it's written as if you have a certain amount of coin in a wallet, the network will look at you as a validator to say, okay, this transaction is legit. I'm going to validate it and allow the transaction to go through. So by doing that, basically you're just saying people who have a lot of Ethereum are going to keep the network running by just holding on to it.
Because they're preserving the value.
Yeah, they're preserving the value of the system. And inherently, it's better for the environment that way. Bitcoin, if it was powered by some sort of clean energy, okay. But right now, I mean, the last I heard, you could power like the country of Chile, Argentina, and a couple other countries just by the amount of energy that's being used for Bitcoin.
Sorry to interrupt you and go a little off topic, but do you have do you have something at where you live right now that's mining right now?
I did. I had a 10 GPU rig, about 450 megahashes for Ethereum proof of work network.
Good specs.
But it was
I said good specs, but I really don't know. I'm just kidding.
It was decent. I was getting around a little over 1 Ethereum a month.
Ethereum, I just looked up Ethereum a couple of days ago. It's worth isn't it worth like 1,000 something now?
About 2,000,
Yeah.
2,050.
So is mining you 1 or 2 a month?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Was it cheaper back then or?
Well, I made the decision to kind of get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Because the transition from proof of work to proof of stake is going to happen very soon, probably this year. And with the whole tariff war that's going on, and there's like a shortage of material, etc. Graphic cards are like super priced. Like you can't buy them for the manufacturing retail price. Like I had a couple of like really high powered ones. They should sell for about $500 to $600. I ended up selling them for like $1,300. So I bought everything maybe around September, October time frame of 2020.
Yeah.
I mined it until the end of January, and I just sold everything for like, I think I paid maybe around $3,000 or $4,000 for everything. I sold everything for like over $9,000. So I just like, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I just took my profit, and
So you're not currently mining?
No.
Okay.
Please. I don't believe in it. I'm a little bit of a climate change believer. I'm just more of like I'm trying to be environmentally conscious, and I don't.
You're saying you don't believe in the effect it has. Like you're not a supporter of the way it affects the environment, but you believe in
I believe in cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I think that it's gonna change things fundamentally. I look at it as like, we went from like bartering to like silver and gold to like paper to like checks, Visa. I just think it just makes sense that it's like the next thing in line. And one of the stories that I heard that really kind of shook me to my core. You get a lot of people who come here from other countries, looking to make a life. Usually it's like a big family of people from, I don't know, Nepal or Brazil or Africa or something. And one of them makes it out. They come to America, they work, and they find a good job and money. And they do something called remittances. They send remittances to their family.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the way they do that is through something like Western Union. They deposit the money to Western Union. Western Union takes the cut. Western Union will then send it to like a couple of different banks before it arrives at the bank in Africa or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it arrives, like let's say they put $100 in, the fees are probably going to be at least $40 or something like that. So by the time the person gets it out, they've lost $40. And while that $60 might make a big difference to them, that method of just sort of sending money, it seems foolish to me.
I don't understand why would they not be able to just send it from one to the other without sending it to like a bunch of different places in between?
Well, first of all, the exchanging of the currency, there's usually a fee to exchange currency. Mm-hmm. And secondly, there might not be a Western Union in the middle of nowhere in Africa.
Yeah.
There's probably their local bank. But even then, the people who live on the farm or whatever, they're probably going to drive or travel, quite a distance to reach
Mm-hmm.
a bank that has, assets to be able to communicate, right? Mm-hmm. So it was just one story about a family where this girl, she was sending her mom
Mm-hmm.
like $200 like every 2 weeks. And it takes a long time to go there too, like weeks. So what they did was they gave both of them a smartphone. Not a smartphone actually, just like a flip phone, just something that had access to the internet. Mm-hmm. And they told the girl in America to send it to her mom with I think the coin was XLM. It's just one of the mini coins out there. But she sent it to her. She got it in less than 5 minutes, and she was actually able to use that to buy things, in the town, that day. Mm-hmm. Versus, waiting a week or so to get it. Yeah. So I see it as kind of like bridging the gap between a lot of maybe less fortunate people. I just think it's a very exciting technology, I don't even use cash anymore, do you?
Not really. I do like to have cash. Like I keep a little cash just because it's nice to have some, but I don't use it very much. It's just I like to. It's nice to have physical cash. Like something about it I would like, and it's also like a good reserve too. Like who knows? I doubt it would ever come to that, but it's nice to have some like a cash reserve. I think, yeah. But yeah, I don't really. I very rarely buy things in cash anymore. I'm always using my credit card or paying online. So.
And I don't know. I just there's a lot more I could talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I have so many questions about it, but I don't want to get too carried away with that because there's other stuff to talk about. But yeah, I could ask a million questions about it because I still don't really comprehend it. And it's interesting to me, and I'm curious about it, but I just don't. I don't know. Like I said, I kind of understand it better than I used to, but I still don't fully understand it. I do know it's been taking off though for years. Tesla just accepted it, and Elon Musk, and there's people who are smart people and successful people who embrace it. So obviously it has some sort of potential or already has value, and I've looked into it a decent amount, but There's
I mean,
still like
you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin now.
yeah, I know. Although I've heard that it's not as easy as it sounds, but
Yeah.
but I mean, I've heard so many people talk about it in podcasts and different different areas where it's. I mean, I don't know. I still don't fully get it, so it's hard for me to really have that much of an opinion about it because it's like beyond my comprehension right now.
I think people talk about things that are not tangible.
Yeah.
Something that I can't physically touch.
Like NFTs. You ever heard of NFTs?
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
I agree. Yeah. I think that stuff's kind of goofy as well, but it's really popular right now.
That I think has a lot of benefit for people, musicians in particular. I mean, if we look at a standard musician, they're gonna work with, a company, and that company is gonna take, a big cut just to like distribute it, and the musician is left with, a small chunk of what they put their heart and soul into.
Yeah, my old guitar teacher just posted on Facebook. He gets royalties for like 100+ songs that he's helped compose, and he just shared on Facebook a check that he got from like Time Warner or something, or like like whatever music group it is, and he showed that he had gotten I think 61,000 streams or whatever, and the payout for that was $3.50. It's like so bad, I mean, 61,000 streams isn't that much, but like still, it just seems like a weird ratio to 61,000 streams. You make $3. It's like cool.
I mean, people aren't buying records anymore.
Yeah, well.
I mean, CDs.
Yeah, I mean, not like they used to, I guess. Although, I mean, records have made a significant comeback, though.
But like, it's still somewhat of a niche market.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
you don't really need a record. It's like, I mean, you could just get any song you want on your smartphone.
Yeah. I mean, I paid $9.99 for Apple Music.
Yeah.
It's got any song in the world I want, pretty much, and it has live captions for me.
Yeah.
I'm hard of hearing, so I can read it as I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it used to be like $1 a song
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to listen to something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fine, then that gets paid to the artist, but NFTs, I think, with the whole like digital art, I don't really understand it, because how are you gonna display it?
Yeah, well, it's
then
like
you gotta get like a TV and put it on the wall just to like display it.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like it seems like a sort of like a ripoff, honestly. And then somebody made a point the other day that I was watching a YouTube video, and they were talking about people who have a huge amount of money. You know how I'm sure you've heard about like really, really wealthy people who will buy art because it's like sort of a way to like launder money. Like
a hedge.
Yeah, like you can put like somebody bought 400 mil. I'm just making this up, but I think somebody did actually buy like a really expensive NFT. But let's just say somebody put like I don't know $400 million into like an NFT. Then doesn't that become some sort of like tax benefit? There's some sort of benefit for that, for someone with a lot of money to do that. Just like if you bought like a famous old painting and you're not even really that into art, you're just like, I'm gonna put, millions of dollars into this piece of art because it is now like a tangible piece of property that I can like evade taxes with or something like that. I'm not even knowledgeable enough about that to speak on it really, but. Anyway, I want to know more about the mobster story, guys. We never finished that.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, you kind of was a little off on a tangent, but
yeah, sorry.
Now that you understand sort of my view on crypto, we got everything all built. We had ordered like an insane amount of products.
Yeah, they made a contract with you for $800,000, and you had.
We ordered like all the
components,
all the big graphic processing units, the GPUs.
Did you cut out the other two guys at this point that you were talking about?
They weren't involved in this. They were getting some benefit from the increased power structure. Cause we actually went to the city and we got like 800 amp servers installed. It was like 250 kilowatts.
You got an 800 amp service put in? How much was that?
I think it was around $25,000-$30,000.
Because I'm actually looking at getting my electric upgraded right now, and it's a nightmare, dude. Like,
It's expensive, and it takes a long time
yeah,
to get them to kind of come out.
yes,
And like we thought we would be able to get it pretty quick.
yeah, I did too.
It took like 3 months.
I'm like 3 months in right now, and I've also kind of like I haven't given up, but I'm like taking a step back because it just fried my brain. Like thinking about all the options I have. I had to deal with IBI, which is the International Bureau of Inspection, and they're a pain in the ass. And then like I had to talk to City Hall about getting like a second address added, and then deal with the electrician, and then I had to deal with Duke Energy, like the local energy company's electrical engineer, and then I had to get my own private electrical engineer, and I had to get an architect to draw plans, and then have like a surveying company come out, which is 811, and then have a private surveying company come out because the public surveying company isn't able to do certain readings. And then like that determines like options that we have from the electrician, and then they're giving me a quote. Initially it was like they quoted me for $3,500 to add power from like upgrade the power here and add 200 amps I think out there. And then we talked to like IBI about doing it, and they're like, oh no, you can't do that. And they just are so picky about everything that I'm just like, I don't even know what to do anymore. I talked to Duke Energy, and like I want to get 3-phase electric because of a new equipment I bought is 3-phase, and they said that they can put a telephone pole in with a 3-phase transformer on it, but that's 10 grand. And then the electrician he gave me a quote to add a 200 amp service for 3-phase at 16 grand. And I was just like, initially it was 3,500, then it went to 5,400, then it went to 9,000, now it's at 16,000. I'm like, I feel like you're just ripping me off at this point. Like, so I'm about to find like other electricians, I think, but it's a nightmare, man.
My situation, the building that I was leasing from was owned by an electrician who had his own business. Mm-hmm. So that helped out a ton. Yeah. Because he was able to kind of, go about the whole process. Yeah. But it still took 4 months, 3 months, 4 months. And of course that didn't make the mob guys happy. So it took a long time to get the part too. But we ended up getting about 1,000 graphics cards. And all the subcomponents, I'm talking like power distribution units, motherboard, RAM, CPU, power supplies, all the cables, all the shelves, all of the cooling stuff, all the networking supplies, and just like, wiring everything up. Yeah. It was looking back, I'm thankful for the experience because I learned so much, just personally about how to build all that stuff. But I didn't have enough oversight to see what was really going on. And once we finally got everything up and running, we had it up and running, and we were good for about 2 months. After about a month, we were earning 88 Ethereum a month. 88.
How much was it worth at the time?
I think it was, at a peak, it was probably around 1,400 per Ethereum. So yeah. that was almost $100,000 a month. Yeah. And we were gonna get about 10,000 plus, our salaries like maybe 3,000 each. Mm-hmm. And that was great because then we had that, plus the infrastructure to add our own stuff. Well, I still to this day have no idea what happened.
Can you pull that mic a little closer?
I still to this day I have no idea what really happened, but there came a point when it was time to make a second payment to the investors. The first one went fine. It was a little bit of a hiccup because we were kind of teaching them how to manage it. We were trying to find a good exchange that would allow transfer to their bank. Because back then, you had to have a very specific bank that would let you deposit money from a cryptocurrency exchange. It wasn't just like I could, deposit it to any bank. There had to be like Bank of America. They didn't like that. They actually they shut us down after we started putting too much money in from Coinbase, and so then we had to find another one.
They shut like your account down, you mean?
They I don't know, they just didn't have a good view.
They just didn't want to work with you.
They didn't want anything to do with crypto.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of closing accounts that were dealing with cryptocurrency.
Okay.
So we ended up moving to Citizens Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Citizens Bank is good. I like Citizens Bank. I have them still. So time to do the second transfer. I sat down, because at this point, I had everything built. I spent like hours and hours. Like, I was there super late, just like doing very repetitive stuff, getting all these rigs like set up and programmed. Because it's not just plugging them in. It's they call it the Silicon Lottery. Each card is built slightly different. So each card kind of needs its own sort of, little 10 to 11K.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta took it and make it work. You know what I mean? And so I had to do that, and that took a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was running a team of 4 people to kind of get all these sort of set up based on Alex's software setting.
Alex was your partner?
Alex
was it just you and Alex and then the mob dudes?
It was me and Alex, Brandon, Patrick, a guy named Kenny, Tim, and it was just.
I remember you reached out to me at one point to try to get me to invest with you guys.
Yeah, I'm happy you didn't.
I was gonna say I feel like I'm happy I didn't, because I know how more or less I know how it played out,
Yeah.
Which we'll get to in a minute. But I actually just, the guy that I was telling you about that I bought Pokemon cards from the other day, he has his own little computer in his house that is just mining crypto for him. I thought that was kind of cool. I think I would like to have something like that, where it's just something small, even if it was say it was just the 2 of us or something, where it's someone I know, but I wouldn't really want to get involved with people who I don't really know that well, and it's beyond my comprehension, and I don't think, anyway, go ahead.
If it had just been Alex and I
Mm-hmm.
and the investors, I
Mm-hmm.
think we would have been fine.
Yeah.
But the added stress of trying to build that massive farm and run the side business,
Yeah.
it was just taking too much of our time. We couldn't effectively do both.
The side business was
Well,
your.
we were, hosting the machines because we had an 800 square foot room that was maxed out. It was just constantly running, and then we had another room that was maybe 3 times the size. We had about 20 shelves in there. I think they were about 8 feet long, and it was just 3 rows of just fucking computers and humming away and doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was there were times where I just kind of sat there. I was like, wow, I can't believe I just built
Yeah,
this.
it's super impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a large amount of space to fill with that's
With
yeah.
anything, really.
And then really, and then on top of that, some of the numbers, you're saying, if you guys are making $100,000 a month, that's amazing.
That's profitable as fuck. I mean, even at its lowest point.
Was is that your profit after your cost, $100,000, or did you have expenses?
That was revenue.
Okay.
But you still gotta probably. I think it was probably maybe 10,000-15,000 a month for electric bill. So that was still about 80,000.
Plus paying you guys off too, right?
Well, it's probably more in profit. It's probably somewhere around 75,000.
Okay. Still really good.
At its height.
It's $1 million a year.
Yeah. But at its height, though. At the height.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
But as it started going down, people started freaking out a little bit. And I think last year it went down to $90.
Oh shit.
And now it's back up to 2,000.
Yeah. So
50.
volatile.
So it's just.
You still have some, right?
Yeah, I have a decent amount.
You don't want to say, do you? I'm not gonna push you to, but I am curious. How much do you have, Wade?
Let's just say it's 5 digits.
Five digits. Okay. Yeah. So you got
in USD value.
5 digits. Oh, okay. I thought you meant fucking 10,000 Ethereum or something.
I fucking rate, dude.
That would be, yeah. I'd cash that out.
Huh?
I feel like if I had 10,000 Ethereum, I'd just cash it out.
Yeah, I would too, man. Just
Buy a freaking house or put it in the stock market or something.
Yeah.
I'd probably keep some. I don't know. I've never.
I mean, if Ethereum behaves at all like Bitcoin, which I'm banking on, then I'll be set.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hold on to that for like 4 or 5 years. And
Oh, you think, but you're saying like, because right now it's at 2,000, but you think it'll be like 10, 20, 30,000, 50,000 in the
Easy.
future? Really?
easy.
Why are you so confident?
It's smart money. It's just kind of trying to look into the future and seeing what path we're going, and seeing all the institutional, like Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, all these big sort of investment institutions. They offer ETFs. Like, it's not Ethereum outright, but it's like
it's a conglomerate of multiple cryptocurrencies.
yeah, but like, and just seeing if you know what a smart contract is. It takes a little bit to wrap your head around it, but the best I can explain it is, let's say I'm going to build you a program, a software program that will edit your podcast, give you a nice, perfect timing, can give you a sweet little intro, and can give you like a nice little sound that's going to be embedded into it based on sort of like the tone of the voice, the topic. Let's say I'm going to write you a program that's going to do that. What we can do is we can make a smart contract, which says it has just basically lines of code that says, if this, then that, if this, then that. So it basically, instead of paper contract, which is kind of left to interpretation of the human psyche, or the lawyer, or the courts, or whatever, it's basically saying, if this deliverable is met, payout will occur. If this deliverable is met, a payout will occur. If the entire program is met to certain variable, and it actually will check the program, not the human, the software will check it, the smart contract will check it, then I will get paid what we agreed on. This is happening all over the world right now. It's happening in businesses. People are paying their employees in this way based on certain deliverables that they define. It has some flexibility on how you write it, depending. Like, some can be, maybe be within a threshold. Some can be very, very specific. Like, has to perform one very specific function, and then the payout will occur. But just things like that. Because Ethereum is what they call a virtual machine. It's a virtual machine, and it's meant to be a world computer. And that type of thing, that's something that's not managed by someone like Amazon with a massive cavern underground that could be manipulated in some way if they so chose. This world computer, I think, is just something that humanity is kind of moving toward. Something that's kind of built on trust, rather than trusting Jeff Bezos. He's gonna do everything the right way. He's gonna have some sort of godly consciousness that's gonna be fair to everyone. I don't believe in that. I don't think that people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, they shouldn't have this amount of power that they have. I mean, it's great and all, what they built, congratulations, good job for them. They're gonna profit like crazy, but it leads to inequality, more often than not, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's speculative on my part, but it's just my opinion.
I'm just listening. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I agree, like, that some people have more money than they need for sure, but like at the same time, look what they're doing. It's like they wouldn't be able to do things that are changing the world if they didn't have that. And it's not like they have like someone like Elon Musk doesn't have like $100 billion just sitting in his bank. It's like those are like assets that he has,
For sure.
like equity in his company, and that's determined by like investors putting money into the company in addition to like their sales and all kinds of different stuff, like all the different assets that those companies have. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard for me to have that mindset about people with that much money. Although I get it to an extent. It's like some people have way more money than they need and they hoard it, and they could probably do better things with it. But anyway, let's get back to your. So what happened with the the mobster guys?
It's like a month of full operation, getting ready to do big payout. Sat down with my buddy, not my buddy anymore, but my co-founder, and I was like, because he'd been kind of dicking around, like he wasn't answering questions, he was being kind of shady. Towards the end, he was being very shady, and we busted him in multiple lies, and I started to like get really frustrated, like really like angry with him.
What was he lying about?
Like he would lie and say that he had sent someone a payout when really he hadn't, or he would lie and say that he was using money, like he was using personal money to pay something because we were like a little strapped for cash at the time, but really he was taking money out of like the company finances, just like real shady stuff, like breaking protocol, like left and right,
Mm-hmm.
and just like overall being an untruthful person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is ironic because that's what blockchain trying to prevent is, it's trying to help boost truth
Mm-hmm.
and, trust.
Yeah, like totally transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're about to send this last payout, and I noticed he was kind of editing the source code. Like, if you know enough about computers, you know that you can hit a button and open up the source code of a browser. And if you know where to look, you can change certain numbers and things like that. I like to think that, some browsers have prevented that from occurring, but some of them are still, if you hit refresh, everything goes back to normal, but you can change information on the page. So I looked at the account, and he was showing me the page, and it was like, something weird, because it said the account balance was exactly 88.0000000 Ethereum. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
In cryptocurrency, there's always like small decimal amount, just because of the fees that occur and just the way it's set up. So it's never a perfectly whole number.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, hold on, I gotta go upstairs and get something. I was just kind of back in my brain, like, why is this happening? So I went up and followed him, and I saw him doing it again. Went back down, saw him doing it again. I just grabbed the computer from him. I hit refresh, and our wallet, which was holding the money at the time, went to zero. There was nothing in it.
How much was in it before?
It should have been based on, if you have a certain hash rate, you know pretty much exactly where your earnings are going to be, which is the nice thing about mining. It's pretty consistent. It'll fluctuate a little bit, but it's pretty consistent on what your revenue will be. So I knew it should have been around 80, 90 Ethereum in there, because I've been seeing on my phone every time a payout is sent.
Yeah. And that would have been like $100,000 or so.
It should have been around 88. I forget what the value of Ethereum was at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I kind of broke down. I was like, what the fuck, man? What's going on? Where's our earnings? The investors are up my ass. We gotta pay them.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking mob guys. You don't want to fuck around with them.
Yeah.
What's going on? Be honest.
Yeah.
And he couldn't. He started studying and being untruthful about what was going on. I got pissed off. I kind of grabbed him by the head, put my head in his face, like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Don't do that. You're hurting us. You're breaking us right now. Just be honest. Like, if something happened, tell me. We need to be honest with them. We can't, hide this or, try to cover it up somehow. It's too much money. You can't just find this money.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And then we got into it, and we kind of, went our separate ways a little bit to cool down. I went home, and he was living right next to the facility at the time. I went back the next day, and he was gone. Never saw him again.
You have never heard from him since?
I heard from him through email, because I had to fucking, it was kind of traumatizing to talk about, but I had to go through everything, take everything down, clean up everything.
The whole facility?
Whole fucking facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little bit of help, but I don't know, man. It was just at the height of what I built, and everything was just taken from me.
Yeah.
Because it was either give everything back to the Cleveland group, or go through this like lawsuit, or could have been more. I don't know, but like I don't know. I just kind of felt really alone, and I felt like I had to just make the choice of just giving it back. Because if I didn't, then I didn't really want to see what came back. I think I made the right decision. I don't know. If I held on to it, I don't know, maybe I would have seen a little bit of money back, but I don't really know. So they came back. They came by like a week later, 2 weeks later.
The investor guys, the mobsters?
Yeah, they sent a crew up. They didn't come up themselves.
With like baseball bats and brass knuckles and stuff?
Nah, thank God, no. They just sent like a U-Haul crew, and they had like a 28-foot truck. Just came in, took everything down, moved it out.
Was it like super awkward, like being around them? Was it like tense?
Well, that's the thing. None of them came up.
So it was just random people?
Just random movie.
Yeah. Were you glad that they didn't come up? Would you rather have seen them, or?
Well, that's the thing. I called them, and I kind of told them what happened. That I couldn't get a hold of Alex. I don't know where he went. I tried to say maybe we can figure something out. Like if you can send me someone else up here to work with, maybe we can keep going. But they were spooked. They just wanted to get the product back and try to get some of the losses back. And so they came up, they took everything. I took a little nest egg. I just took some of the machine and kind of put that aside, because it was 1,000 graphics cards. It was like 100 motherboards, just like a whole bunch of shit. So I had my own like rig that I kept. And
is that what you were saying you sold recently?
no, I sold that to pay for like my lawyer for the lease, because we had a 3-year lease at that place, and I had to break the lease. And I think the lesson I learned was honesty is a good policy. Maybe there's some things you don't want to always say, but you want to be as truthful as you possibly can. So I told the landlord what happened, told the investors what happened, and they all tried to reach Alex, but nobody could reach him. So that just made me look good,
Yeah, and then you're like the only point of contact, so they're all like looking at you.
And before, like, he was kind of the one interfacing with them mostly.
Yeah.
And I rarely talked to them. So that the fact that I was kind of like, hey, like, blowing the whistle here.
Yeah.
And, I think they gave me a little bit of a, sort of a leeway there, which I'm thankful for. I feel like I made a good decision with that. Trying to like fight these fucking mobsters. I got so much money. What am I gonna do? Like.
Yeah. Did you actually have to go to court?
No, I did. I paid $4,000 for a lawyer, and it was a really good one. And this wasn't for the investment group at all. They just kind of,
Do you know if they did they still try to do a crypto mining business? Did they find other people to set that up, or did they just give up on it?
As far as I know, they just found someone who bought all the posts in bulk.
So they just got rid of everything and tried to recoup their investment and just got out of it?
They sold it for like $300,000 or $400,000 for everything.
How much was it that they spent on it?
Almost $600,000-$700,000.
So they lost like 300, maybe 400,000 or something?
Well, they did get one payout, so I don't know if they held on to that or not.
So they would have, was their payout in crypto, or so it wasn't like you paid them out like 100,000, say, or 75 or whatever, but that's in crypto. So if they held on to it, it would have been worth.
Held on to it till now, they might be in a good place.
Twice as much, yeah. So but they potentially lost like 6 figures.
Dude, if I still had that business now, I'd probably be like in Hawaii or something.
Yeah, just on a boat or something.
Yeah, dude, that's a stogie.
Yeah, just chilling.
Just chilling.
Just letting your computers make you money and you just do nothing.
Dude, it's a fucking money printer.
Yeah, basically.
If you know how to do it. something that I would love to like do, but only if I had like a means of sustainably powering it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using fossil fuels, some sort of electrical service company. It's not really ideal in my head to use that approach.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've got like a really sick, like, I don't know, maybe hydroelectric turbine or something, or maybe like a solar panel that I just kind of piped into my house.
Did you not used to care about that?
I did, but I think I was kind of blinded by like
The potential for the income. Yeah.
But I was always thinking like, eventually I'll get to that point.
Yeah.
But I need to work my way to that point.
Yeah.
So in the end, I went back to my roots. I became a mechanical engineer. I've been working as an engineer for 3 years. I got a pretty sweet job.
Mm-hmm.
I got a stable paycheck.
Don't you work on? Are you allowed to say? Do you work on like space or aircraft or something? Don't you work on what type of engineering do you do?
So mostly what I do is like CAD design. So like I'm technically a mechanical design engineer. So I do a lot of work on valves and actuators for controlling oil and gas, water, hydropower, hydrogen power, biofuels, things like that.
Okay. So are you working with different factories and like what are like the customers that you work with?
Mostly pipelines, that type of thing. A lot of like solar farm.
Yeah.
We basically have to control the panel that absorb all the sun.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of control it to sort of actuate it kind of face at the ideal position.
Okay. Just to get them to maximize the
maximum power.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
So you're like designing the machinery that like tells it how to, or not only tells it how to move, but like functionally is capable of doing that. Like
I'm still kind of working my way up the ladder, but
Yeah.
I've done some nice like stimulation projects, like say, hey, if it's subject to this amount of load, what could happen? How can we change the material properties? How can we change certain aspects of the design to make it function better?
Okay.
But I was working on this project the other day. It was cool. It was like, I think it was like 15 feet tall, and like if you turn it on the side, it kind of looks like a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of tanks and like a long linear hydraulic actuator that goes up and down,
Mm-hmm.
kind of controlling about. But like it looks like a Star Trek ship.
Yeah.
So it was like made of like about 100 pieces. So it took a long time to kind of put everything together.
So did you have to design all the pieces?
Some, mostly bracketry, or might have to design some sort of like routing system.
Yeah.
To connect it all together, like a wiring harness.
Then there's like a team, I'm sure, but like some other people are figuring out how like it functions, and then you get like information from them, and you have to decide how to like make it physically like yeah.
So it's really nice. That's what I like. So even before the mob guys, I had done another business as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that running a business is fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
It's draining, dude.
It is, man.
It's mentally,
Can be
physically, sort of.
consuming.
Yeah, all consuming type of thing.
It can't. I think it depends on the extent that you prioritize. Like it depends on what you're going for. Like sure you could have a business that's not as, the Elon Musks of the world are completely consumed with their businesses for the most part. Less maybe like 5% of their lives or 10%. But then you could be the guy that has, I don't know, like a ATM business or something, and I'm sure that's still consuming, but like some businesses
you could probably attest to it. I mean,
definitely.
Even one thing might be somewhat straightforward. There's just a lot of nuance to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that come with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep it going.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's why I like working at least for now, and I think I'll go back to establishing a business at some point. Cause
it's not for everyone. I think a lot of people glamorize it and they sort of fantasize about entrepreneurship, and it is an awesome thing. But it's definitely not for everybody, you know, like it's not any better or worse than working for another company. Like it just depends on your personality and like what you want to do with your life. I mean, there's times where I've thought about like not being in business for myself and working for other people just because it's like it can be easier like in certain ways. But then there's pros and cons to everything. So it's like you can always look at the other side of the fence and think the grass is greener. But like, I have benefits to being self-employed that people who aren't self-employed don't have. But then I also have burdens from being self-employed that other people don't have. So it's just like a give and take, and it's kind of like determined person to person what you're willing or more like happy doing. And I mean, even like, and I'm sure I'll probably deal with this most of my life, but like for me, it's like figuring out how much of that, like I'm okay with in my life to be like happy, basically, like sometimes I get overwhelmed and I have to like take a step back and try to slow down. And I mean, getting injured actually helped me do that because I was sort of just getting to a point where I was like, I just bought like an automatic screen printing press and a big dryer, and I was starting to get ready to upgrade the electric. And then I was getting back to doing YouTube videos to like drive sales and promote, what I want to do on YouTube. And I was really excited about it, but I also it was kind of like what you were saying with the downfall of your crypto mining business is like you just want more and more and more. And sometimes it's like I'm the victim of that with like my own self doing that to myself, because it's like I just want to grow faster, but sometimes that leads to like mental exhaustion or like depression or whatever, and you can get super bogged down by that to where it's like not even worth it. So yeah, for sure it can create more problems than it solves. But and now I'm kind of at a point right now where I'm like I've slowed down somewhat, and I'm just trying to like I'm just trying to like keep up with the work that I have and keep like base touched with my pre-existing customers and still bring in new customers, still support myself obviously, but like I have a comfortable amount of savings. I have a nice house, and my business is doing good, and I have an employee and stuff. So it's like I don't want to like try to go too hard all the time on it, because it doesn't make me happy to always be doing that. But then at the same time, if I don't do that enough, I feel like unfulfilled. Like working hard makes me feel good.
Yeah.
But then working too hard makes me feel shitty. So everything's just a balance, And I mean, I know, like, I'm sure you know that, and everybody says that, but it's real, man. Like it's so easy to get off balance and like get carried away with trying to grow and make money or reach for the next best thing.
But isn't that the whole kind of goal of entrepreneurship, is to get to a point where you can just let it go? And then like as far as I know, there's like 4 different areas. There's like an employee, a self-employed person, an investor, and then a business owner. Mm-hmm. Most people are probably on the left side, but the people who are truly like free, financially free, are on the right side, investors and business owners. Because a business owner could ideally, leave for a year and come back and it's still going. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of thing that I think that most people hop from self-employed over to investor or business owner. Yeah, I guess so. But I think I don't know if it's realistic to think that you would ever really not be able to be involved. Like, well, yeah, of course. But like, I'm just saying the level of involvement. Yeah, is what makes that super ultra wealthy. I mean, I'm sure that once they start a business, they go and do other stuff and make more money. Yeah. And they're never really stopping. But to get a business to that point, it's fucking hard. Really, really involved. Yeah. It's just a lot. Yeah. It takes a lot on a person, but when you get to that point, then say, hey, manage this business for me. Call me if you need anything. I'll be in fucking Boy.
Cabo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, like you said, it's so involved to get to that point. And I feel like if you don't love what you do, then it's, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's some people who just do it like they love the money or they love what they do, and there's different things that they appreciate about it. So it's not always like, oh, I just love like this type of work, but yeah.
Someone who owns like a food truck, they might just love cooking food for people.
For sure.
And it pays for them.
Socializing and making a little bit like a decent living. Yeah.
And they might work 5-6 days a week. But they could take a day off if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But they gotta go back and keep it going.
Yeah.
Without them, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They need to physically make it work.
Yeah, like with me right now, like I have someone printing for me, but it's like if I don't put time in to get sales, they have nothing to print.
Yeah.
So like I still have to do that at least, let alone like deal with the customers and quality control and stuff like that. But I mean, that's just like anything though. I mean, who doesn't have a job that is time consuming, whether you work for someone else or you don't, like the only people who don't have that type of lifestyle are probably people who have like been born into wealth or just have like a crazy amount of money for some reason. I don't know. Like, I feel like you got to work hard regardless if you want to be successful, unless you're just lucked out somehow. But
even people with a ton of money, they got problems too.
Oh, for sure, man.
Well, money's a problem too.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it's like that's one of the things that I appreciated about getting hurt was that, like, I was trying to fill like a void in my life, like by building my business and like trying to make a certain amount of money, when in reality like that would never really make me happy, because there's like other things that I was missing in life that I'm still figuring out, but like it's just a matter of like reprioritizing, I guess, because it's like if you just focus on one area of your life, then you neglect all these other important things, which I felt like I was doing for a while and I'm still figuring out. But yeah.
You heard of the 4 banners?
For what?
The 4 banners of life.
Burners?
Burners, yeah.
Like a stovetop?
Yeah. So you've got your work, your family, your friends, and then there's like personal life. I mean, if you try to do all 4 of them, those gonna probably melt. But most people are probably somewhere around 2. Like they focus on the work and the friends or the friends and family, but they neglect the other 2. I think ideally you probably want to have like 3 of them just on the medium, you know what I mean? Just got a good balance, the stove's not getting too hot, you're not making more problems than you have. But unfortunately, that is like the way of the world. Like, there's a lot of avenues you can go down, and you can't necessarily have all of them. And I think that's sort of one of the things that led to the downfall of my business was my work burner was shoo, and everything else was off. I neglected my family, I neglected my friend, I neglected my personal health. And in doing so, I failed to recognize the problems that Alex was bringing into the business with. I look at it as being a pathological liar.
That's the guy that disappeared? Yeah. He stole like 80 grand though, basically.
Fuck, yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what was going through his head or what really happened, and I'm never will know. Cause if I saw him again, I would feel the urge to like punch him in the face, but I wouldn't. I would just walk away because I'm done with that part of my life. I don't know. There's been like fantasies I've had about it, but it's not worth the problems that would cause.
Yeah. So are people like trying to find him still?
Last I heard, they were looking for him somewhere in Albany.
Mm-hmm.
but I know he's from Russia.
Oh, really?
So down in the Cold War, him and his brother were kind of left orphans based on something that happened, and they were adopted by a family in Connecticut. And then he, went to RIT where I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. But yeah, so I learned a lot of lessons, but I'm in a good place now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to be where I am and talking to you today.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that we're doing this. It's cool.
It's been a long time coming.
Did you get, I know you had like accrued like wasn't there some sort of like debt or whatever that you had to like deal with from that fallout?
Yeah, there was a big electric bill, but the landlord took care of it because
Really?
he needed to rent it out, and the new tenant couldn't use the power
Mm-hmm.
unless the previous service charge was paid. So the
Did-
landlord took care of it.
So you don't have to pay anything back right now?
I paid $4,000 for my lawyer.
I remember like a while ago we talked and I thought you said that you owed like 20 grand or something,
That was what it was for the electric.
but that got all waived.
Yeah.
That's cool. Did your lawyer help accomplish that?
Yeah, I didn't actually go to court at all.
Yeah.
He went for me. So I found like a really good lawyer downtown New York, and they was like, just give us all the paperwork, tell us what happened, we'll go, and we'll bill you as we go. But last I heard, about a year and a half ago, they were exempting me from the entire process and focusing on Alex. I guess they had, found him and served him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I got served, dude. It was brutal, man. Like I remember I was watching, I don't know, I was just getting down, like watching a movie, and we just ordered like some Chinese food, and like it was like about 2 months after everything had kind of settled down, and I talked to the landlord about everything, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I have to like vacate the premises, I'm gonna clean everything, and I hope that we can move on from it. And he's like, I had a feeling that something was gonna happen, but I heard a knock on the door. Went to the door, and this lady was like, "Oh, you Wade?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Here you go.
You served, bitch.
Served. Like, no.
Fuck.
It was
That's rough.
devastating, dude.
Yeah.
It was devastating.
What does that mean when they serve you? That means you have to go to court, or like what was the serving like?
It just means that you have to acknowledge the due process of the law, the motion.
Because somebody was
motion-
pressing charges.
There was a motion made against the company.
Okay. Is that the same thing as pressing charges? Like a motion is somebody that wants to.
It's a little bit different. It's let's say I wanted to sue you for something. I would create a motion. Take a motion to sue, and I'm gonna list out everything, reasons why. His was just because of the lease. We had to break the lease.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big facility, so I think it was somewhere around $3,000, $3,500 a month
Mm-hmm.
over 3 years. So it was a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to recoup that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up now. Like the lease term is up.
Yeah.
So
do you think that your lawyer made the case that you were like kind of, I mean, you were basically innocent, and that Alex guy took advantage of you and everybody else?
Yeah, so
took the money and
we
ran
didn't sign it personally. My name was on the lease as a what do they call it?
Like a co-signer or something?
An attester or something like. But the company was the name on the lease.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just kind of like below that as like.
You were separated from your company, so you were an individual. So they weren't suing you; they were suing the company.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you start a business, start a lease, sign it in the company.
For sure. I remember I was doing business mentorship stuff for a while, and at one point they involved me with this guy from UC who was like one of the head people at the law program at UC, and they do this thing like for the graduating students where like they select a handful of small businesses to work with grad students for their like one of their final projects, and they make you like you come in. I mean, you have to apply online, and then they only select like a couple businesses, and I got selected luckily, and so like then I had to go talk to the teachers and whoever, and plus the students, and they basically assess you to determine what needs you have to be fulfilled that they can help you with, so that they can get some like real world experience coming up with like legal documents for a small business. So I basically told them, stuff. They asked me a bunch of stuff. Long story short, they made me, one of those documents that they made me was that it was a form that I had to sign that separated me as an individual from my company. So if I ever did, God forbid, but if I ever did get sued, they could sue me for the assets that my company has, but they couldn't like take my house or take my personal property or like ruin my life. It might partially ruin my life because my business is a big part of my life, but like it still protects me as an individual, which is kind of like what you're saying, right?
So we don't have to go bankrupt, but if the business goes bankrupt, then there's nothing to recoup.
Yeah.
Everything just gets liquidated, pays everything from what they have, and they cut their losses pretty much.
Yeah.
I was petrified that I would be going to prison or something, but debtor's prison used to be a thing. What? Debtor's prison. Like if you had debt and you couldn't pay it, they would throw you in jail.
But it was like a certain type of jail?
No, it's a jail.
Oh, yeah.
But they did away with that 200 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but it used to be a thing. Like,
if you were like in a large debt to someone, that you would be jailed for it.
Yeah.
Would that like pay your debt off, or how would you ever get out of debt if you're in jail?
I think it was either like time served or
Okay. So it'd be like you owe X amount of dollars, so you have to serve X amount of time, and then your debt is waived.
I'm not too well versed in it, but
yeah.
I was talking to my lawyer about that. Like, can I go to jail for that?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no. The worst case is you have to file Chapter 11 if you can't pay it.
Bankruptcy?
Yeah.
So you had to file bankruptcy?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't? You business?
I was pretty well protected.
Yeah.
Via my lawyer and the fact that I had, set up businesses to mandate everything.
To separate you from your business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I had taken on all the responsibility using my social security number instead of my EIN,
yeah,
then
yeah,
that would have been bad.
Yeah.
But thankfully I had the foresight to see that.
Yeah.
So that's a big lesson. I learned that from my previous business. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way by doing business as an individual rather than an entity.
Mm-hmm.
So now, anytime I do freelance engineering work or something, I put it under Kellard International,
mm-hmm.
because that's a separate entity than who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you that sort of buffer.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about motion savvy at all? There's a lot there too, right?
Yeah, that was a long drive. I mean, that business was doomed from the start.
Because it was like too ambitious.
Way too ambitious. Too.
Yeah. I'll try to set a little premise. So like, you had started a company called Motion Savvy before you started the crypto mining business with some classmates, right, from college, who, wasn't that Alex guy involved in that too? Son of a bitch, man. That's why these businesses failed.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
So like, the concept was to build hardware that had software that would be able to read your hand signals to do sign language, and then it would translate the sign language into text, which was read out of like an AI voice, basically, right?
Yeah, just a sign language translator.
Yeah.
We got pretty far with that.
Yeah, didn't you guys got Wells Fargo to invest, didn't you?
Yeah.
At
Wells
like
Fargo,
at like
some
a
various venture capitalists.
wasn't it like a $1.4 million valuation that they invested in?
It was 1.2 series, seed round of funding.
From Wells Fargo?
No, that was just 400,000.
They gave you 400,000 at a $1.2 million valuation.
Mm-hmm.
Were they?
No, this was not the valuation. This was just the amount that we had raised. I forget the valuation, but valuation is just some arbitrary value at that point. You know?
But you raised 400 or you raised 1.2?
Over like maybe 2 or 3 seed round, we had raised 1.2.
Oh, okay.
So this was through various venture capitalists. We had won a next big idea competition. Then we had been through a business accelerator, then another accelerator. At that point, we had been close to 75,000 in funding to start building it. And we got a really cool product. It was a tablet.
I remember you brought it here one time and you showed me like the beta or whatever, like the
Yeah.
prototype.
Yeah.
I remember you showing it to me and then, explaining like...
It's a hello, my name is Wade.
I remember you telling me about one of your presentations where like you weren't sure if the beta thing, the prototype was going to work.
Hey.
And then so you kind of were like at the mercy of like how it performed in the middle of your presentation. And then like maybe also like there were points of it that weren't fully developed yet that you guys were sort of like leaning on that weren't really ready yet, but like based on the way it was presented, it was like
so we had kind of developed. Ideally, the software was supposed to be sort of like a multi-threaded approach.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't really just kind of like you could sign in any order and it would pick up everything.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to make sure that the presentation was good and it came out as we wanted it to, we made it a single thread. So
it was like predetermined
it
text
was predetermined,
that like
but,
you knew it was gonna be able to.
It was like hello, then my, then name, and then after name, the finger spelling would be automatically kind of happen, but we would still assign it.
Yeah, just to
make it look
so it was
like
sort of like
Yeah,
it was sort of deceiving in that way.
it was.
Wade, man, why are you deceiving all these people for so much money?
That's the way the game works.
Your parents need to have a talking with you.
They did. They fucking recommended to us by an advisor.
Did your
He's like,
parents?
just make it fucking work.
Yeah.
Just make it work, and then you'll get the funding.
Get your fucking money and then figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's not very probably
I
probably not the
went
greatest
from
advice.
college into these like insanely advanced tech shit, and I had a fucking lemon of a software developer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lemon, dude. Like he was all talk,
Yeah.
and I was oblivious to it, dude. I was blinded by the dollars, man.
You're just like, oh, we're bringing in so much money. All these big companies believe in us, and
Yeah.
we've made it through this accelerator program, and we're doing all these.
And I did my
fundraisers.
part, dude. 'Cause I did my part. I pulled my fucking weight.
Yeah.
And this actually kind of traumatized me a little bit. I was talking to someone about it the other day. It traumatized me because now my relationships are sort of in a weird place because now I put so much weight. I expect the other person to pull their weight so much, and my expectations are so high that when they don't give that, I sort of, start to doubt the relationship because of that motherfucker. Like, I gave the physical product. I built all the hardware, the electronic parts. It was charging. It looked cool. It functioned. It turned on. It did everything it should have done. But the software stuff, granted, it was very complicated. It was like machine learning, AI, like all this type of stuff. But you put a lot of faith into someone to pull their weight and believe what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very trusting. I was a very trusting dude back then. But now, like, I'm skeptical of everybody.
Even me.
Even you, Kev.
Why? What did I do, Wade?
It's just, I just think twice now,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing.
No, it's better to be more careful than less careful, probably. I guess. I don't know.
Just to sort of,
It's a balance with anything,
Yeah, it's sort of like, you want to vet what people say. Like, don't take it like, oh, that's it, yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
So maybe, show me, but how did you do that?
Yeah. There was a guy, I was just thinking about bringing this up earlier. It's something that also traumatized me, like legitimately. I still think about it somewhat often. And it happened through that business mentorship program that I was telling you about. One of my mentors actually, was, it's weird because like when I try to think back on him, like sometimes I'll think like, oh, this guy was just like not a good person, or like I had a lot of like reasons to not appreciate him. But then I think that there was also times where I feel like I was given advice by him, or guidance that did actually make me better at business and just like more professional and things like that. But then I guess it's just like goes to show that like people in general aren't usually, it's almost like I would venture to say that almost nobody is like all good or all bad, It's like there's things I think that I learned from this person that actually made me a better person or benefited my life in some ways. But then I can think of a plethora of experiences, whether it was something he said or like an attitude that he had or something that he did that were not good. And anyway, it's kind of a long story, but like at one point I was working with this ad agency for a while, and like
How much was it you made?
No, the honey baked ham thing. No, that was just like a freelance thing that I just got hired to do. But like, so at one point I got hired on. The program was called SCORE. It was a nonprofit, basically like an accelerator program, kind of like a business mentorship thing. It was free, and you would meet with retired business executives from different backgrounds, and they would counsel you and try to teach you and guide you to become a successful business person, which I really always spoke super highly of this organization. I don't really anymore, but I do feel like I gained a lot from it too. But like, anyway, this guy, I got put in touch with this guy who was one of their mentees. Like he had his own business and he went to them to be, mentored. And he had a business as like an ad agency, which means that he would make radio commercials or videos. He would make websites for people and do like marketing and things like that. And so I met that guy. They put us in touch because I was a film school graduate and I was still just kind of figuring things out. And so they put us in touch, and I got in touch with that guy, and he ended up hiring me. And like right off the bat, it was sketchy because initially I wanted to be paid, I think like $20 an hour. And we went back and forth on the contract like a lot, to the point where we're like arguing. And then like eventually he's like, all right, like that's fine. I'll pay you $20 an hour. And I signed the contract. Then like literally like I think it was like the next day, or like I believe it was the actual next day, but I came in shortly after signing the contract. And before we started anything, he's like, oh, I made like one revision to the contract, and it's just on the last page here. Everything else is like verbatim, the same words and everything. And it was like one sentence or two at the like very end that said like, I will be paid $10 an hour I'll be paid I think it was like, I'll be paid $10 an hour for any work for this company. And then if it was like an outside client, I can be paid up to $20 an hour. So basically it was like, in other words, it was like manipulative enough to basically say, you are only going to get paid $10 an hour, and you'll only ever be paid $20 an hour if we choose to pay you that. You know what I mean? Which literally I never got paid $20 an hour ever. It was always $10 an hour the whole time I worked for him. And like another thing that organization had set up was that the mentors, the retired guys that were mentoring you, they like had to sign contracts, I believe, or like at least I know that the organization had a rule, like their guidelines, that the mentors were not allowed to work with mentees outside of SCORE unless it was like approved by SCORE. And they couldn't profit from working with you. It had to be like a nonprofit, like it was just like a give back to the community kind of thing. And this one guy, he was working with that guy outside of SCORE. So I would be working with that guy, and then this guy would come in and they'd try to like, you know, land new clients and stuff. And I mean, there was one time where they had like a client come in, they were trying to buy equity in his business. And he had like some sort of like food manufacturing company where they made like pickles, and they jarred pickles and some yeah. And so he was trying to get like 30% of this guy's business in exchange for growing his business, you know, pretty exponentially, you know, like $1 million or something, in exchange for like a large piece of equity in his company. So he had me come in, and, you know, I dressed nicely. And then this mentor guy came in, and he's dressed all slick, and his son also worked for that guy, so he came in, and a couple other people that he worked with. So there was like, you know, 5 of us, maybe 4 or 5 of us there, so he could meet like the team, I guess. But it's like really no point in us being there other than to look impressive. You know, like literally I was basically told to not say anything and just be like, just like support what they were doing, you know, just be like a yes man basically. And I mean, at the time I was like, oh, this is cool. Like to be a part of a meeting where like they're trying to get like equity in someone's business. And I watched Shark Tank like religiously at the time. So it was like, oh, this is like some real life Shark Tank stuff. And I was excited about it. But like, is that your phone vibrating? Yeah, you're fine. But anyway, like that's just like a side note on just to give you an example of some things. But at one point, like I quit working for him to go work for a screen printing company because I was thinking of taking a loan out to buy an automatic press, and I was already working. And when I signed that contract too for that guy, he tried to have me sign a contract that said that it was like all in fancy legal terms, you know, to where it wasn't as obvious.
Jargon.
But it was basically saying that like I had to sign like a non-compete, and like I already have, you know, I was already doing video work for myself. I have my own equipment. I went to film school. I was running my screen printing and embroidery basement. I don't think I even had embroidery in-house at the time. I didn't. But like I was already doing that business out of my basement. And he had a website where he sold promotional products. That was like part of his business. So his contract basically said anything that he was doing already, I couldn't do. And I was like, well, I sent it to my brother-in-law, who's like a high-powered attorney, and he's like really good with legal jargon. And he was like, you definitely don't want to sign that because it's basically saying that you can't do any video work or any promotional product work. Like for, I don't know if it was, I think it was for like 2 years after I stopped working with him or something. So I had to like argue with him about that. And then he changed that to basically say that I couldn't like poach his customers, that's fine. I mean, it was basically saying I could keep doing what I'm doing, but I can't like steal his customers, right. Which I was like, that's fair. Like I was happy to sign that. But the fact that he tried to get me to do that in the first place was sketchy. Yeah. And then the what I said about like the payment thing was sketchy. And then him working with this mentor when he wasn't supposed to be was sketchy. And like, it wasn't disclosed to me at the time, but like the story that I'm getting at, eventually I met with that mentor like years later. And at one point he was trying to sell me, like I continued going to these meetings for my business. So I would see that guy there because he showed up to every one of my meetings. I didn't even really like him, honestly. Like he was always like a real smart ass. Like he would say some smart shit like every meeting. And he was very full of himself and like egotistical. And he would always say something like kind of rude. And none of the other guys that ever met with me were rude like that to me. Like I always felt like they were complimentary of me and encouraging. And this guy, although like at times he was sort of, but in like a sort of like backhanded way. And like, he always showed up to my meetings though. And then like one or two times he actually emailed me after and like got in touch with me outside of SCORE. And then he was talking to me about like investment opportunities and stuff like that. And, you know, and I talked about like one of my last SCORE meetings was when I was buying this house. So I was like, yeah, I was disclosing like some of my financial information, like as far as like how much money I have to spend on equipment and on property and, like things like that to try to get like, I wanted to be transparent so they knew my situation so that they could give me the best advice they could to make the best decision I could for my life and my business and stuff. And sooner or later, after that all happened, he reached out to me about an opportunity of a lifetime. Literally, it's like, so it's one of those things where like right off the bat, I'm just like, this is sketchy, but like how they say curiosity killed the cat. It's kind of the situation, like I should have just been like, no, but I was curious and I was like, oh, this will probably be sort of entertaining. And I guess in a weird way it was entertaining, but it was not like worth it. But, he like, I was like, oh wow, like I have to know more, like tell me about it.
More.
Yeah. So like I messaged him back and, he kept trying to set up like a time for us to meet and a place to meet. And I was really busy. I just moved here and I was working out of the garage and I was getting big orders and I was doing really well and I was working really hard and I was really fucking exhausted because of that. Because, all this home improvement, all the shop and everything, it was all brand new and it was a lot. So we kept like playing tag, like we couldn't really get together. And I kind of didn't really want to anyway that much. But like ultimately I reached back out to him and I was like trying to set up a time to meet him because I was still curious. So eventually we finally were able to do that. And he met me at Starbucks at like Kroger, I think, on Glenway.
Yeah, okay.
And it was like the weirdest business experience I've ever had. Well, I don't know, I've had a few, but like it was pretty fucking weird. Like he said it wasn't a pitch. Like in the email, he said like, this is not a pitch. And then when I met him, he literally just pitched to me the whole time. And he was basically trying to sell me that guy that I used to work with, the ad agency guy. Okay. He was trying to sell me the portion of his business that was like printing related. So like his website, all these domain names, and like a list of customers that had been ordering with him. But like he didn't provide me any real like documentation to prove like how much they were doing per year or anything really, like, and he just kind of was talking. And then during the meeting, he was all over the place talking about like Mormonism and how he was involved in the pornography industry. And like, it was really, really strange. And I left that meeting just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, that was so weird. And then I ended up like following up with him. And I, I was like, well, it seemed weird. You should just trust your instincts. But I was like, maybe if he sends me some paperwork, maybe it's worth it. Maybe I can get a bunch of good customers and like grow my business.
So that's enticing.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I reached back out to him and I was like, can you send me some like documentation of everything so that I can actually see like I want to see receipts of sales like on a year after year basis. And, like what's your yearly income and your cost and just like anything I could think of that would like prove that it was legitimate. And try to figure out like what he wanted for it. And he said that he basically wanted $80,000, I think is what he said, for this part of this guy's business. And he said that like, I asked him how, like, what are you valuing that on? And he said that it was supposed to be like the amount of sales that they did per year, I think. And I remember when I was working for that guy, he was kind of like belittling me a little bit because I was like still working out of my basement. And he was like, this business just runs itself. It's just a website that people go on and then it outsources everything. And I don't really have to, it's like hands-free. And he's like, and I make like $25,000 a year doing this. And it's like, and then they're trying to sell it to me for 80. So right off the bat, I was like, that's bullshit. Cause he said it was the average income of the sales for the past 3 or 5 years or something. And I was like, well, I worked with him within the past 5 years. And he told me he was only doing like 20,000.
Did he know that you worked with that guy?
Yeah. Okay. But he must not have known that he said that.
Okay.
And like also that guy's website, there's this company called ASI, which is the Advertising Specialty Institute. and you can just pay them a monthly fee. It's like $100 a month. And they have these template websites where you can pick your products and you can set your pricing and you just fill out all your branding. So it's like your website, but it's just like a cookie cutter website that anybody can get made.
Yeah.
And that's what that guy told me that he did. So I could have just as easily made my own website like he did through that company. And like,
there were like a couple of really large accounts.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was like, maybe there's some good customers that I can get, or maybe I can just buy the customers. And it's like, I don't want all these. He was offering me like 20 domains. It's like, I don't want these domains, you know?
You can manage them and.
Yeah. Well, and they're just like irrelevant. Like they were, they were like Bic lighter domains, and stuff like that. And I don't care to really do that. So I still kind of like enticed it and heard him out and wanted to get more information on it because what he told me was very vague. And it just didn't seem legitimate. And so then I ask him about it. He doesn't really get me any information. And I follow up. And I followed up like 3 times, I think. Because I'm like, I thought you were trying to sell me a business. Like, where's the information? And he's like, oh, well. Then he said that they were trying to get his accountant to get all that together for him. And then they tried to put accounting fees on me. He's like, if you want this information, you're going to have to pay, I think he said $500 or $1,000 or something in accounting fees. And I was like, why the fuck would I pay your...
You should cover that cost. If you're trying to get 80 grand
yeah.
out of me,
well,
cover that cost.
And it's like, you're the one trying to sell your business. So why would somebody who's considering buying it pay your accounting fees? It's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. And like, and then he said, like, he forwarded me an email that he had sent to the guy that I used to work for. And I don't think he's an older guy, so I don't think he realized that like when he forwarded me this email that I could see everything. Previous emails. Yeah. And he said something like, it was like, Chris, the guy that he's like, for one, I always have and always will give you 110% effort. But this guy's driving me crazy. Like, what do I tell him? And then like, I saw some responses and stuff, and they sent me a Word document. It was just a 1-page Word document, and it said, like the name of the business. It said like, average sales with the number, and then it had like, the domains that I would get, which had like, just 15 links or whatever, and then just like some bullshit about, how many customers they had or something like that. And I was like, this is the proof you have for me after like me following up with you for weeks to try to like get more information to potentially buy this, and you want $80,000 from me, and this is what you sent me. And I just got so pissed off. And I remember reading that and just being like, I can't pretend to be nice about this. Like you're literally trying to rip me off, and you think I'm stupid. You must think I'm stupid, know? So I just went in on an email. I typed a like super long email up, and I just went very in detail about everything I thought, like between both of those guys. And I like proofread it like 3 times. It was like typing a school essay, like it was well thought out, and like I had a lot to say. And then I didn't send it right away because I was like, it was late at night. I was like, I'm like tired. But unfortunately, then I go to my parents, and I was explaining it to them, and I was like, should I send this email? And I think my dad told me not to, and my mom told me to, or maybe vice versa. I don't really remember, but one of them encouraged me to send the email. I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I'm going to send the email, which I should have just left it alone. But I sent the email, and he responded in a way that was like, just ignored like everything I said. And I was like, he was basically just like, we should meet soon to like talk. And I was like, did you read any of this? Like, do you have anything to say about what I just called you out on? And then I kind of like went further with it, and going down the exactly. I shouldn't have even took the bait to do that. But dude, we ended up meeting, like sooner or later, we ended up meeting at this Frisch's close to me. And like, it was crazy, dude. Like I met with him, and we were sitting at like, you know, a table like across from each other. And like, I mean, for one thing, he disclosed to me that he was making a small percentage off that guy's business, which he wasn't supposed to be doing. And he was like really, really rude to me, but he was like, what did he say? He said something like along the lines of, you know, like, I shouldn't have tried to sell you a business that I didn't know very much about, and that was my mistake or something like that, which it's like, all right, but you still tried to sell me something you didn't know about for like 80 grand or whatever, you know? So it's like,
yeah, what kind of mentor is that?
yeah, exactly.
It's not mentorship, it's basically trying to scam you at that point.
Yeah. And I called him out about it, you know, and he was like, I don't have a lot of time for you. And I'm like, dude, I was thinking about not even coming here. Like, I was on my way to go see my dad, and I was like, I just left him a voicemail. Like, I don't know if you still want to meet. I'm not trying to be confrontational with you. I just want to get to the bottom of this. And I have a few things I wanted to say, you know. So I went in there, though, with that, like, being said. And he just right off the bat was, like, basically talking shit to me. Like, he basically was, like, saying, like, he said, like, right off the bat when he met me, like, he thought I was a slimy scumbag piece of shit, is what he told me. And I was like, literally, he said that was his first impression of me. I was like, dude, like, every time I went to those SCORE meetings, I would literally, like, wear a button-up shirt. I'd, like, try to, like, look okay, you know? I would go in there with, like, I didn't every single time, but I would usually bring, like a notebook to take notes on, or like, the night before, I might make, like, things I want to talk about with. And, like, I tried to take it seriously and tried to be, like, professional and respectable about it. And, like, he was always in the meetings, like, cracking jokes and being a smartass and, like, acting like he knew something about everything, when I think he was just like a silver tongue kind of guy, you know, who just talks a lot but doesn't really know that much. And, like, one thing led to another. I just started, like, it was pissing me off, but I just started, like, smiling at him and just kind of trying to laugh it off, you know? And I was like, all right, dude, like, you're saying that about me, but, like, you're just fucking projecting, really, is what it seems like. And, like, anyway, he said he wanted to, like, take it outside with me. And I was like, he's, like, an older person. Like,
How old was he?
I mean, he's decent old, like
60s.
Probably, yeah. Like, he was pretty old. And, like, I was just like, I don't think that would be a very good idea for you. Like, I was like, I don't know what, like, you're thinking right now. Like, I'm, like, 27, you know, or something. Like, it's just a bad idea. I mean, I'm not, like, the most intimidating person in the world, but, like, he's like a shorter guy, a little chubby, like, you know, like, he's an older guy. It's like, what do you really think's gonna happen? Like, let's be real, you know? And plus, I'm not interested in fighting an old guy, you know? And, like, and I said that to him. I was like, looking him dead in his eyes, like, I don't think that'd be a good idea for you, you know? And he's like, he got so pissed off. He stood up, walked around the table, like, walked up to me and fucking slapped me in the face. And I fucking stood up so quick, dude. And I put my hand on his neck and I fucking walked him, like, there was, like, a booth next to us. And I grabbed him by the throat and I laid him down in the booth, you know, like, across from us. And I just held him down there. Like, I wasn't, like, choking him, but I was, like, restraining him, basically. Yeah. And I got, like, on top of him, kind of. And he's just, like freaking out, you know. And I just slapped him on top of his little bald head. And then, like, that was it. This other guy came up that was in the restaurant, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, that's an older guy. You don't do that. And I was like, you have, like, no idea what this dude just did or said to me. So, like, don't come at me, because, like, this guy literally just slapped me in the face and said all this shit, and then also had tried to previously scam me and just was getting under my skin for years at these meetings and stuff, you know? It was nuts, dude. Like, I was so fired up about it, and I even filed a fucking report on it, because I was like, I'm not going to let this dude try to, like, manipulate this. So, like, I fucking I reported it, you know, and I was just like, this fucking guy, like, And I called him after that too. And like I left, you know, because I was all fucking worked up, and I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And like I left, and I called him back, and he was trying to get me to come back to meet him in the parking lot. I'm like, what do you think is gonna happen, dude? Like you're crazy. Like I thought it was so insane. And I still think about that like pretty often. I'm like that shit was traumatizing, dude. Like it kind of scarred me, because I'm like, this is a person who's supposed to like be mentoring me and like have my best interest at heart. Yeah. And they're trying to rip me off for money. He's insulting my character. He literally put his hands on me, like was trying to fight me and like talk down to me like all the time. Like it was nuts, dude.
Dude, I understand. I mean, I'm very, very close to the situation I was in. You know, I was very sort of egotistical, pathological about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But people like that in this world are everywhere.
Yeah.
And most of the time you don't find out until it's like too fucking late.
Yeah, I mean, really in hindsight, like I wish I just didn't even reach back out to him. And like I blame myself for like putting myself there. Yeah. Like going to meet him and, you know, setting up a date to do that or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like,
I mean, I can understand, because you're looking at this guy he's older, he's supposed to be a mentor.
He's supposed to be like really successful, retired business guy. I'm thinking like maybe he's gonna like open a door for me to like become more successful and learn things. And and he was just trying to fuck me over, man. Like it's crazy, man.
So like you talked about that gut feeling that you had.
Yeah.
I had that gut feeling too. Mm-hmm. But I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, neither did I. I mean, I kind of did, but it's like, I mean, curiosity killed the cat, right? It's like I let my curiosity get the best of me, and it led to a really, I would say probably one of the most unpleasant interactions I've ever had with a person in my life. And like to this day, that still kind of bothers me. Like, I know it happened a while ago, but like,
it'll stick with you.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably within the past year, I think. And I mean, it still bugs me, man. Like, cause I wonder like if, like, I know I could have handled it better, and it didn't have to go that way, but
you made the first move.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I literally like, I came back to talk to a cop, like, and I left my hat too. So I came back to get my hat. It's kind of funny. I was like, I said some stuff to him like on the way out too, and like kind of felt good, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I don't really like being like that, you know, like I felt charged up, you know, initially, but it's so draining, because it's like, I just prefer to like be, if I can, like to just be like kind of balanced and like productive, and like, you know, I mean, I get off track just like everybody does, but like,
it really draws out something that you don't really want to be drawn out.
Yeah, like a heightened sense of
fight or flight type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that was pretty good. Yeah, I would say it was like that, because it was like, I just didn't. That's why I didn't like walk away from it sooner, because I felt like it was fight or flight, and I didn't want to feel like I'm running away from this. I wanted to like face it head on and like stick up for myself and be like, so what happened? You're in the wrong. What?
What happened to him? Do you know?
I mean, I went back to talk to the officer, and I explained the situation, and literally like I talked to him about it, the officer. I talked to my dad about it. Obviously my dad's gonna have my back, but like I talked to a number of people about it. Pretty much, actually everybody I've ever talked to about it has always been like, I don't know why you feel bad about this. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't, but it's just because he's like older, and I felt like, I don't know. He like, I told the cop about it. The cop looked him up. I think the guy had actually lied to me at one point, because I think he told me he lived in Hyde Park or something. And the cop looked him up. He didn't live in Hyde Park. It's like, this dude's just a liar, basically. Like a pathological liar, probably. Because he used to tell me about businesses he had. Like, I used to have a printing business that did $14 million a year or something, or whatever he would say. And I had X amount of employees, and we had carousel press. And it's like, no, you didn't, dude. Like, you're full of shit. You probably, if anything, were a salesperson for a company like that, and you're just saying it was your company or something. But like,
same with Alex. Like I found this out years later, but when I first met him, he told me that he went to Harvard
Mm-hmm.
and then transferred to RIT.
But really, he just like visited Harvard once or something.
He went to Hartford.
Oh yeah, you told me about this before.
But
Yeah.
I was pretty relaxed about Harvard, like the school of Harvard, Massachusetts, like
Yeah.
really fucking smart school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were all like, okay, yeah, so this guy, he's got
Mm-hmm.
some knowledge, you know, we've seen some of the things that he made, but
Yeah.
when push came to shove, when it came to like delivering something, that's when you see who someone really is.
Yeah.
What they say, what they do, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta take a leak.
Okay.
I gotta take a month.
Do you wanna wrap it up?
Sign off or anything?
Yeah, we can wrap it. So I'll just yeah. I'm trying to think how to end this. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. No, but thank you for doing the podcast though. It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, it was therapeutic for me.
Was it? That's how I feel when I do this a lot of times. It's nice to talk and just like get things out and hear other people's stories because it can be relatable and, you know, hopefully.
Definitely feel a bit closer to you after that.
Yeah.
You had.
But to answer your question though, the guy after that happened, like the cop told me I couldn't press charges on him because I slapped him on his little bald head. And like he said that the moment that guy put his hands on me, that was assault. So technically I could have pressed charges. He said even when I stood up and I grabbed him by the neck and laid him down, that was just being like submitting him basically. So like I didn't, but he said that because I went like, I barely touched him, honestly. Just a little bitch slap on his head. Like, and he said because I did that back to him, that was like nullifying the fact that he did it to me basically, which I think is kind of bullshit, but whatever. It's better to just not deal with it anymore.
I mean, if you had pressed charges, that would have been the whole.
Exactly. It would have just made it more a part of my life,
Just a little slap.
Yeah. And then after all that happened, the cop was even like, yeah, your record's like crystal clean. Like I don't have anything on my record. I'm not like a criminal or a troublemaker. And like the guy that happened to me with, initially I was trying to get him on my podcast because my plan was to call him out on camera. I was thinking like, I'm going to have this guy come on my podcast and I'm going to be like, so like, why the fuck did you try to sell me a bullshit business for $80,000? I thought that would have been great content. Right. Although I don't know, it could have been bad, but like he emailed me back after that happened and he was like trying to mock me and say that I was like, shouldn't be so high on myself. And he's like, before you get your belt, like a fighter gets a belt. I'm like, dude. And then he's like, said something about how he had like heart surgery recently and he was on blood thinners. And he said that his arms got all bruised from it. And I was like, all right, for one, like, why the fuck would you slap someone a third of your age or half your age at least after you, like, I don't know that you've done that, Yeah. Like you did that. That's your personal life that I have no knowledge of. And then you're starting shit with me. Yeah. And then you're like blaming me for like bruising on your arms. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe that's possible from our little scuffle, but I really don't think so. I mean,
dude, think about it. Like, if someone slaps you, ever that's the.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like, I probably would have got it.
Yeah, dude, I wanted to go back and fucking punch him in the face, but I was like, I'm not going to do that because I'll probably get in trouble and hurt the guy. And like,
I probably would have gotten up and like gut checked him like super hard.
I wanted to, but dude, like I always try to submit people if I'm in.
If someone hits you and hit him back one, okay.
Yeah.
But if there's a scuffle back and forth, like you said, it's nullifying it.
Yeah. But
I mean, there's one well placed. I don't know.
Yeah. No, well, like, I went to, like, grab his neck, and he kept trying to, like, move my arms, Right. So I was thinking, like, maybe in that little, like, our arms rubbing each other could have caused bruising. But it's, like, you're making it out to be, like, I fucked you up, and I didn't, And then he sent me, like, a picture or a couple pictures of his arms and shit. I was like, dude, it was pretty bad. And I was like, that could just be some shit that happened to you weeks or months ago, or like, you know, that you're trying to blame me so maybe you can like fucking sue me or something. You know, it's like that. And being the type of person that he is, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like the angle he was trying to take after that. Like, oh, this guy got into a scuffle with me, now I can try to like take him to sue him or something. And so I just never responded to him. But he emailed me every single day after that happened for, I forget how many days, but like maybe a week or something. And he kept saying like, you know, he was talking about his arms and me being high on myself, like I'm some prize fighter or something. And like, then he said something about like, let's do that podcast. Like I want to come on. And I was like, you're fucking nuts, dude. I don't want to do a podcast with you. Are you serious? And then like, you know, I didn't say that because I never responded to him, but like, and then he said something about like, hey, I think I have a good podcast guest for you. It's like the Girl Scouts of America or something. I'm like, is that like, what? That doesn't even make sense. I don't know. It was really strange, man. It still bothers me, honestly, because it's like a shitty experience that I had with somebody. I don't like, having shitty experiences with people, but yeah, fucking sucked.
That's a crazy story, man.
Yeah.
Shit. So you beat up another dude, huh?
I guess. I didn't beat him up. I freaking restrained him and barely slapped him on the top of the head. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. All right, you can go. I'm going to sign off or whatever. But thank you guys for watching. I know it's kind of a crazy story. But if you guys are interested, we are trying to post podcasts every 2 weeks. Maybe we're going to start posting more frequently. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want to be notified every time I upload. We're also uploading music, vlogs, and business-related startup business content. And also, if you want to buy an embroidery machine, there's a link in the description below for Racoma embroidery machines. If you use my link to buy any machines, you will get a discount. And you can also check out my link for Screen Print Direct. They sell screen printing supplies. So if you're in the market to get into embroidery or to get into screen printing and you need some supplies, please use the links below. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Wade, thank you for coming on.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Kev.
You're welcome, man. All right.